noticed a singular lack of partners for the beautiful Lettice. "I know, Hugo," the Countess had replied, "and I have explained to her over and over again that men expect a woman to concentrate on them, to listen to what they have to say, and to laugh at their jokes."
"What the hell does she think about?"
the Earl asked. "Really, your language, Hugo," the Countess exclaimed.
"I apologize, my dear. At the same time, you must admit, it is exasperating. No one could be lovelier than Letty, and I was looking forward to having a rich son-in-law."
The Countess sighed. There was no denying that they had all been counting on it. Alderburn Park was mortgaged up to the hilt. Their debts mounted year after year, and it seemed, in fact, that the only real asset they possessed was Lettice's unrivalled beauty. Then, when they had returned to the country, and the Earl was most volubly resenting the expense that the London season had cost him, Maximus Kirby had appeared. At first, the Earl had not thought of him as a prospective son-in-law. Kirby had been introduced to him at White's Club by a fellow peer, who said in a voice that he thought to be sotto voce, but which vibrated round the morning-room,
"I have just the fellow for you, Alderburn. Wants to buy horses to take back east. As rich as Croesus, and prepared to pay exorbitant prices for anything that takes his fancy."
This, the Earl found, was not quite true. Maximus Kirby was by no means the dupe he had supposed from what his friend had told him. He was certainly extremely wealthy, but he was shrewd enough to expect value for his money. Whilst he was prepared to pay over the odds for the Earl's best horses, he swept aside with a wave of his hand those that were not of top-class quality. The Earl had invited him to Alderburn Park to see the horses. It was the Countess who put the idea into her husband's head that Maximus Kirby was not only a very rich man, but entirely presentable.
"I will say one thing," the Earl said to his wife. "Kirby may not be blue-blooded, but he is certainly well-born. In fact, he would pass anywhere for a gentleman."
"He is a gentleman," the Countess said firmly, "and if he is slightly eccentric, or perhaps one might say a trifle flamboyant, through living so long in the East, that does not make him in any way a less desirable party."
"Are you suggesting—" the Earl asked half incredulously.
"I saw him looking at Letty last night after dinner," the Countess related. "I think, Hugo, you will find that he will offer for her before he leaves."
"But Letty would have to live abroad," the Earl exclaimed. "Kirby has huge estates, so I am told, in Malaya."
"Since the Suez Canal was opened 10 years ago," the Countess replied, "it does not now take nearly so long to reach the East. Why, Lord Avon was saying only last week that one can now get to India in 25 days.
"He is certainly presentable," the Earl muttered slowly, and he was not speaking of Lord Avon.
"I found him delightful," the Countess offered. There was no doubt that Mr. Kirby had a firm ally in Letty's mother. What woman had ever been able to resist that strange, buccaneering, raffish charm which gives a man who has it an indefinable fascination? Besides the fact that women were automatically drawn to him, Maximus Kirby was also a sportsman, which made him popular with his own sex. He had, it was true, an audacity that made many jealous husbands and lovers grit their teeth, but he was also good-mannered, appreciative, and his vivid magnetic personality seemed to bring to Alderburn Park a breath of fresh air that had been lacking before he came to stay. He bought not only the Earl's best horses, he also made an offer, which was eagerly accepted, for several pictures, a Queen Anne lacquered cabinet, and a number of books from the library that the Earl had not even glanced at since he had inherited his title. Only Dorinda, when Mr. Kirby had left, noted the empty shelves with a feeling of dismay, because she knew that they would never be filled again. It was to Dorinda, sitting on the other side of the breakfast table, that Letty appealed now, with misty eyes and lips that trembled. "You know, Dorinda, that I cannot marry," she said in soft, childlike tones. "Make Papa understand that I don't like men. They frighten me." "Mr. Kirby is different," Dorinda answered. "Think how kind he was in giving you those pretty little parakeets, and I am sure that when you go to Singapore you can have a whole aviary of exotic birds. How exciting that would be!" "I would